Okay, so now JMeter. What is this JMeter? So basically, if you want to test the software performance of the software, typically we use the JMeter. Okay, so as part of this discussion, we'll do that. We'll understand what is the performance testing, and then we'll discuss about the JMeter in context, and then also we'll configure the JMeter. We'll install the JMeter and then configure the test plan and record the test to some of the stuff which we will do that. So yes, performance testing should start early and continue through the whole development process. Okay, so what is performance testing? So performance testings in which we test how an application or a resource perform under a given load to see its impact. So basically, we create a kind of fake load on the website when the server in the application, and see if we're providing the so much of load on the applications, how the systems will behave. So performance testing is done after functional testing only. The functional testing which we used at Selenium just now before the session. So that's the reason we are covering the JMeter now. So before getting in the performance testing using JMeter, some of the keyword which you need to understand, and that is called response time, throughput, reliability, and scalability. So response time, which include the request time, processing time, response time, and network latency, including also. Throughput basically, again in terms of response and in terms of size, there are two throughput. So throughput is a kind of algorithm which you see that number of transaction request versus response, and by total unit of time, it can be in second, millisecond, or seconds, or whatever it is. So that's in terms of response time. In terms of byte exchange size, byte sent and received, and the unit of time, and so on. So reliability. So reliability, if you want to find out the number of errors by number of requests, that's a reliability. If you want to understand the scalability, then response time and throughput and percentage of errors, putting it together and bringing the scalability. So these are the four keywords you need to understand in order to understand the performance testing. When we say scalability, there are two types of scalability. You have it vertical and horizontal. Vertical means you have a one host and you are running, let's say earlier you were running one container, now you are running a five container. Horizontal scaling means you are adding a node, extra node actually, so that is a horizontal scalability. So yeah, so what are the requirement for the performance testing? So your goal is to know what is the average maximum response time should be. That's the requirement. The system should be able to support this many pages per second, or system should be capable of supporting the latest this number of users per hour. So that's a performance requirement. It can be do. In order to work on it, the performance testing process, you have to design and build the test, prepare the test environment, run the test, analyze the results, optimize, and retest it. Okay, so here, what can JMeter do then? So JMeter is not a browser, mind it. So if because it's not a browser, using the JMeter, if you do the performance testing of your applications, it will not execute a JavaScript. Mind it, browser can execute a JavaScript, but a JMeter is a client actually. You say client for request, sending a request, Java client you can say. Does not execute JavaScript, so you should not consider JavaScript into that. So think of JMeter as a tool to perform multiple server requests. Okay, so what are the types of performance test we have? So you can generate a loads using number of users and number of requests, but the type of performance test which includes smoke test, which will help you to validate if things are working or not, whether your application is working or not. Load test, you will give the certain loads on the system and see how it is behaving. Stress test, you will I mean you will try to increase the number of leads on the frequent duration. So that is the one thing you can do and then test how that is doing the work. Spike test, suddenly you will spike up the request too much and then suddenly down, and see the how your application is behaving. Endurance test, which is like at a certain fixed number of users you want to create a test, and so on. So yeah, these are the things which we have in performance testing. So let's start with JMeter. So so I just said JMeter is not a browser. JMeter works at the protocol level, simulating network request, minded protocol level network request. So that's the reason it's not executing your JavaScript. So here in JMeter, one thread is considered to be one user. So if you have a thousands of thread, that means thousands of user. Okay, so JMeter will help you to create a request to your application. Whatever the response you have, it will save it and then collect the data. So how do we install it? So installation is very simple though. So first thing is like you have JMeter is developed in Java. Okay, so again, JMeter is an open source Apache project. So it's developed in Java. So first thing you have to have a Java installed, Java home set, and also that is a prerequisite for all applications. It's not only you know the JMeter only, but for for any region you want to install any application, Java based applications, you have to install JDK in certain scenarios and set up a Java home. That is important. So that you have to do that, and after that you have to download the JMeter and extract the file and keep it somewhere. So let me show you. So go to the Google and here download JMeter, and here you see this is the binaries. So it's a tarball zip file, any one of which is you can download, and requires Java 8 plus. So that is the stuff. It's open source, free tool, so there's not a problem. So I have downloaded already in my system. Let me show you. So go to the tools location, and here you see 5.6, 5.4. So these are the two versions I'm having it. So this is the one. Now if you go to the bin, and there is one file which is called jmeter.bat, and this file. So it's jmeter.bat, you can start in Windows, and Jmeter, the one which you see, that is for the Linux. So you can use it. So let me start this Jmeter, enter. So this is a console based. You have to open up command and then run it. So console, I repeat, it's not a browser based application, it's console. So one console will open up, and here it is in the background. You see this is your JMeter, and now we need to configure this one only. So more or less, yes, this is something which we have. Any questions on the JMeter front, all of you? All of you? Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
sir.
Okay, so now how do we configure plugins? See here, JMeter, not all the features are available. So many times, if you want additional features, you have to go for the plugins manager. This is one. So right now you have a plugins manager right now. So I clicked on it. But if you are installing the fresh one, you will not have this plugin manager options. This options here you see plugins manager. So using this plugins manager, you can install additional plugins. I don't know why they have not included as part of it. So actually plugins manager need to be installed separately. So what to do? So here if you go Jmeter, download plugin manager. Here it is. So this is jar file actually. Here you see jar file. Right click and save as link, and you see this is jar file. So this jar file, what you need to do, you need to copy inside uh, this location here, this location. See here, it's already I copied. That's the reason. And then after that, you have to restart the JMeter. So now I'm able to see this option. Why? Because it's already there in me. So you have to do that. Remember that it's a separate installation. So you have to copy and then start it. Now you see that multiple plugins I have installed it, but here you have a few plugins. And if you want to have additional features, you can install these plugins. So let's say one of the plugin I'm installing 5 additional graph. Now this UI is little odd, so you have to locate the option which is at the end, apply changes and restart JMeter. So click here and done. So now you see that here my cursor is being done. So we restarted the Apache JMeter with that plugin. Okay, so now you saw that you know about the plugins manager, and here you can install additional plugins also if you need additional features and all. So that is important. So yeah, that is what I was talking about. Configuring the plugin you can download. Uh, by the way, you can manually also do that, but if you do through the plugins manager, it will be more easier actually. So if you want to do manually, if you want to install any plugin, there's a website jmeter-plugins.org. Download the jar file and put it in the lived ext. But if you want to do through the plugins manager, you can do that as well. So that's not a problem. So some of the plugins you can install it just for trying purpose. Okay, so now the next thing is how do we configure the project then? That is important. Okay, so something like this, if you configure, you will see something like this, but you need to understand. So this is the components of your Jmeter projects. So here you see test plan. Underneath we have four components: configuration element, thread group, listener, and test fragment. Under the thread group, you have a sampler and controller. Under the sampler, you can have a timer. You can see the controller inside that. You can have a sampler and then pre-post processors and all. So what exactly this is? So these are the components which you have to plan for all this thing. So let's go one by one. What is a test plan? So test plan is a root element of a test where its overall settings are specified and all other elements are contained. So if you see that here, look at it very carefully. This is a test plan. So all the components, whichever you are going to create, you are going to create inside this one only here. You see add, these are the component. Threads, config, listener, timer, preprocessors, assertions, many more. Don't worry about that. Slowly you will get to know and comfortable. So that's a top element. So inside the top element, typically you will add a thread group. So what is a thread group? So thread group is basically will decide how many total number of requests you want to make it towards your applications. So how do we add a thread group? So here you click here, add thread group. Here, how many number of thread users? Let's say in my laptop, I'll go for 20 users. Okay, and we want infinite traffic. This is something. Few more settings are there. I would suggest you to read it with first and understand that. It's very simple to understand. So this is the third group I created. 20 people traffic will be created for that. Okay, so that is the one thing. After that, you have a configuration element. So configuration element you can consider as like a variable. Okay, so you can set up a variable, different types of variable, and these variables you can use it anywhere in the whole projects. Let's say you have some website name which you want to use it 20 times down component. So instead of declaring it 20 times, you declare at the variable. I mean here. So how do we declare this component? So thread group, here add config element. There are so many types of config element you have. So user defined variables, you have some http cookies, header, lots of things. Mind it, you need to understand application well in order to decide which one you want it. Some random variables you have. So I'll go for the user defined variable, and here I'm adding, let's say, name, and the value is Rajesh. Okay, simple. So this is one variable I put it, dollar name. If I use it, it will become a variable. So here you have used user defined variables, and so dollar name you can use anywhere now. It will print the Rajesh. It can be port number, IP address, website, or something like that. So that is the one component which you should know that. Now we have to talk about the controllers and samplers. So samplers is the main thing. Samplers basically is a kind of component which will help you to create a traffic on the application. Yes, application definition will be containing in sampler. Sampler is main. So again, I repeat, sampler is a one thing which is running on the application to decide what applications something. So let's say I have to decide actually. So I'm going to create one. My application is, let's say, rajeshkumar.xyz. This application I want to find out the performance. So let me create a sampler first. So go to add sampler. There's a too many samplers, but this is a website request. So HTTP, and this is the one, and path index.html. Now, if you see that, you can provide the protocol HTTPS, and let me remove this one. And port number 80 by default. If you have different thing, HTTP request also you can provide get post all this thing you see here, and content encoding and some of the other options also. You can add parameters to this URL also. Here you can add a parameters, body, file uploads, many things options are there. This is sampler. Okay, so sampler is there. So this is a important one. Now, what is a logic controller, a component? So logic controller component will help you to, it's like a if and else kind of it. So logic controller is a kind of component which will satisfy true, then it will run the sampler. If it's not true, then it will not run the site. It depends on you. So let you customize the logic code to decide when to send request. Okay, when to send request. So here, if you want to run sampler logic controller here, so under the this one you can add a logic controller, if controller, and here you are adding, let's say if, okay, here if you are saying if dollar name the variable which I declared, right? Dollar name is defined or not. So if you can put it up all this thing, and so if dollar if controller, let me check one. Simple controller I'm putting. Uh, if controller. So here you are deciding if name is declared, then run the HTTP request. I move this one inside here. Here. So if this is true, then only it run this request. Likewise. Okay, so logic controller, that one. Samplers, it can be different. Timers between the two requests, if you want to delay the duration, you can use a timer. I'm not using right now because I don't need it, but here if you think I will add a timer here, you can add a constant timer. It should delay by this one, so this will be delayed actually, and so on. Assertions, basically same thing which you, if you remember that, something which you did in the Selenium also, validate something. Are you getting something out of it? So assertions you can check as like a condition. If it is pass, pass, fail, fail. So how can we add it? So let me add assertions, and here assertions based on what? So I'm going to based on the response assertions. Now what do you want to do that? So here response code equal to, and here add 200. Okay, if it is 200, now I added this condition. So these assertions will add, the test will pass if response code equal to 200, and if not returning, then test will fail, though it will run but it will fail the test. So overall, these are the things you decide. So again, if you look at this now, something like this, you will have it. So here now, if I put it in a summary, here we create a test plan. Inside that, we had one variable defined here, and then create a number of traffic here. Inside that we had a controller, and inside the controller we had a sampler, and sampler also there's one timer also introduced here, and then followed by assertions. So these are the component which I just added in my test plan, and now I have to run. Are you understanding, all of you? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Hello. So how do we see the visualizations? So for the visualizations also, there is a some options are available which you must get comfortable with it. And that visualization is graph, table, tree, and logs. This is called listener. Okay. So can we add this? So go add listener and view result tree. This is one graph. Go add listener, view summary report. One more I want to add it, listener aggregate. So these are the three reports I added. So whatever the output you will be there, you will be seeing this. Done. Save this project and yes, and run this. So now if you see, it's not creating any traffic. Why? See 00. Why? Because this condition is not allowing. So I'll do one thing. For time being, I'll disable this, remove, and again run this. Now see traffic again is not running. Why? uh, I'm just looking for it, why it's not running. Ah, by mistake I removed the main thing. Actually, I wanted to remove the controller, but I removed the sampler. Again I have to add it. Save this project, move this one. Yeah, now see here. So now the report is, if you see, report is coming in the red. Why it's red? So request is null. So one request, if you see that here you are doing the troubleshooting, uh, there is some problem in the URL actually. So here, this is okay, and stop it, save it, and clear the old data. Clear, 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 and run this. And now it's coming good. That URL was good. So here now this is a response data. This is a HTML. You see, request, request body, all this sample request, summary report. Total samples is are approx 600. Average, minimum, maximum, standard deviation, error percentage, throughput, received, sent, average. Aggregate reports, see here. So if you see that total request is almost 1000, and median is 501. 90% line means percentile, actually 90 percentile is 779. Your response time, all this thing, minimum response time is 237 milliseconds. This is in milliseconds. Okay. Maximum error 0, throughput received no. So now this is the kind of 20 people request you are making, and you have to analyze all this thing and analyze and understand that problem. So again, if you think you are going to change some of the thread group instead of 20, 40 people, and don't try more than 40 in your laptop because your system will hang, and save it. Clear the last log. I'm creating it 40 users parallelly on my applications, and how it is behaving. Look at this. Here you have all the complete aggregate reports actually. So Jmeter is a kind of tool which will help you to the performance testing, create a fake traffic on application at a network level to see that how your applications are performing. Are you understanding all of you?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, now the question is where can we use? Are we going to do the become a QA engineer? No. So JMeter will be used in the observability. Most of the monitoring tools which I'll teach you, there I will say, hey, we have to set up a monitoring and fake data we need to generate, creating a thousands of traffic. Then only you will get the monitoring details, right? So in a New Relic or other tools like Datadog and other tools also, there we need a JMeter to run the fake traffic to create a fake traffic. But again, in the future, QA team will come and say, hey, performance monitoring, I want to incorporate with CI/CD model. So can you help me with that? So then you'll say, yes, I know that how JMeter works. I can help you with it. So this one I showed you through the command, I mean console, but this will be command line operations also. So for that, what you need to do, you need to store this project. Let me store this. Okay, I have already stored. So save as options. See save as. This is a GMX file. So this project you have to run it over the command line and as part of the CI/CD automations. Okay, so this is something which you should get comfortable. Very handy tools. Lot of time you will come across where you have to create a fake traffic on your applications, and this will be very handy for you. Got it?
Have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.